Hey everyone, this is Josh from Visto for another episode of Talent Tips. I am happy to be joined by Erich Johnson. Erich, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Erich, first question, can you just give a quick intro, tell us a little bit more about yourself and where you're working these days?
Yeah, I'm a manager of talent acquisition for corporate and operational roles at The Score. It's Canada's top sports media app and one of Canada's leading sports betting apps. I've been in talent acquisition for over 7.5 years now, and I began my career in agency recruitment, helping folks get established in their careers or transition to a different employer. I've recruited across corporate and technical functions, including software developers, product managers, and designers, as well as all of the functional roles within a corporation, kind of a jack of all trades.
Awesome. I'm sure it'll give some great background for our next question, our favorite question. Can you give 3 tips to aspiring immigrants who are looking to land their first job in Canada?
Absolutely. So the first tip is be resilient and keep positive. When you first arrive, you will likely face many naysayers and folks who aren't necessarily bad people. They're not necessarily bad people. They're just going to, given that, you are new to the country and they might feel that hiring you may present challenges or obstacles that they've never faced before. It might just be easier for them to say no than overcome those challenges. So that's the first tip, is be resilient and keep positive. The second tip comes from that as well. So come prepared with facts and figures about the value you can add to a potential employer. Focus on your experiences and not your experience. I think oftentimes people look at a resume and say, oh, this person has 2 years experience, blah, 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 in this particular role, but they don't take a second to think about what the experiences that they've had, the quality or the quantity of experiences that they had within those 2 years. So think of things like challenging products that you've worked on or projects that you've worked on, and research the company ahead of time to make sure that those stories are as relevant as possible to that employer. And remember my first point, right? Make it as easy as possible for them to say yes to you, and try to do some of the legwork for them and anticipate their potential objections and be prepared to overcome them early in the hiring process. My third tip would be connect with a reliable, you'll like this, or connect with a reliable immigration professional first, then connect with a reliable recruitment agency in the city you plan to establish yourself. But be mindful, in Toronto, for example, there's over 1,200 registered recruitment agencies in the GTA alone. So use Google reviews to guide you. Use the top rated. Check, go and filter it by most negative experiences. That way you can get a sense of the particular agency you're connecting with, and then let that agency recruiter know where you are in your journey in coming to Canada, and when your expected arrival date is, because that will help them plan accordingly and figure out what projects might be upcoming, or different cycles where there are some employers out there that we know consistently hire in September for bulk hires. So if you know that it's March and that you're going to be landing in August, then that recruiter can do their best to align you with a potential project for September.
Awesome.
That's it.
That's great advice, Erich. And similarly, do the same thing with your immigration lawyers too, right? Don't just Google, pick the first one. Like you said, find reviews, talk to previous clients, make sure that they're people and companies that you want to work with. So absolutely great advice. Erich, our third question is, can you tell us a little bit about the roles you're currently hiring for, or just any that you wanted to shout out or mention?
Yeah, so the Score is pretty much hiring for every role that we have available. We're hiring for various roles. The vast majority of those are hybrid within Canada, US, and Gibraltar. And for certain positions and skill sets, we'll allow for 100% remote work from pre-approved countries. We are heavily in a heavily regulated industry, so that often determines which roles will allow for remote work, and from which countries those roles can be done from. So I'll share a link to our career page afterwards, but we are hiring for functional roles, developer roles all across the board.
Awesome, and we'll include a link to that in the description as well. Last question, Erich. Can you give a shout out to somebody in the Canadian HR talent, recruitment, or people space?
Well, it's really, really hard to pick just one. I haven't gotten to where I am today without the support from so many folks. If I had to pick just one, it would probably be the person that I owe my whole career to, and her name is Paige. Without her, I would have never even considered a career in talent acquisition and found my passion, because it really is my passion. I mean, if I'm going to be greedy and pick another person, her name is Jana van der A. She's from the Netherlands, and she is the doctor, literally the doctor of customer experience. She has her doctorate in customer experience,
Hmm.
and her work led me to understand a little bit more about looking at candidate experience from the realm of customer experience, and it really revolutionized my approach to recruitment and how I interact with candidates and how I put candidate experience at the top of mind for everything that I do.
Very cool. That's great. Erich, thank you again so much for coming on the show and sharing these tips. If anybody wants to get in touch or learn more about you, where do you recommend that they go?
Just find me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. We'll include a link to that in the description, Erich. Thanks again, and we really appreciate it.